In this video, I'm going to discuss the 2008 comedy Yes Man. Let's get into it. This movie is really special to me for a lot of reasons, which I'll get into. I think it's Carrey's best work, which I know is a bold statement. First, I'll talk about how this movie came to be, why it didn't get the recognition it deserves, then I'll talk about why I think it's secretly great. In Yes Man, Jim Carrey plays Carl Allen, a recently divorced loan officer at a bank. He's stuck in a rut emotionally and fails to find the fun in life anymore. When he runs into an old friend who tells him about going to a seminar where people decide to say yes to everything, he goes to the seminar and through much persuasion, he decides to do it. After saying yes in life, he meets Allison and they start dating and his new life is born. The question really is, how far will he take his new obsession? Yes Man was based on a 2005 memoir of the same name, written by Danny Wallace. Danny was a radio producer in the UK for the BBC. While in London, a man on the bus told Wallace to say yes more. And so to take it to the nth degree, Wallace decided to say yes to everything, no matter what, for an entire year. Although I've never read the book, the first edition cover says that he won $45,000, met the world's only hypnotic dog, earned a nursing degree, and traveled the globe. Now that's just good radio. Wallace does make a brief cameo in the movie, which is pretty cool. The screenplay was written by Nicholas Stoller, along with help from others, including Jim Carrey himself. Stoller is a very accomplished writer and director, with some notable works being Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek, Gulliver's Travels, and the Neighbors film series. It was directed by Peyton Reed, who has also directed Bring It On, The Breakup, and all 3 Ant-Man films. Plus, he got to direct 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, among many other great works. Production for the film began in October of 2007. Some fun facts about the film are that the scene where Carl brings Allison to the stage of the Hollywood Bowl and kisses her was based on when Jim Carrey drove his car onto the stage and kissed a girl there after his set at the Comedy Store in real life. Deschanel and Carrey improvised singing Can't Buy Me Love in the movie. When Jim fell at the bar, he broke 3 ribs. Carrey believed in the project so much that he declined an upfront salary and decided to take 36.2% of the box office after the studio cleared its production and marketing budgets. It turned out to be a good investment because on a budget of $70 million, it grossed $223.2 million worldwide. Carrey spent 10 weeks learning Korean, and his Korean teacher played the teacher in the movie. He also got plenty of lessons on how to play the guitar. In the deleted scenes, Carl and Norm start their own loan company called Yes Man Loans, and in it, John Michael Higgins' character Nick Lane shows up in a head brace asking for money to cover his medical deductible. He said yes to a 17-year-old girl, and her father beat him up. I'm kinda glad they deleted that scene. The craziest fun fact is that Jim Carrey actually performed the bungee jump scene himself. The scene was scheduled for the final day of filming and done all in one take. Carrey claimed he got PTSD for a full week afterwards, as he had nightmares about slapping the pavement. We almost had Yes Man turn into a cult classic the same way The Crow did in 1994, when film star Brandon Lee was tragically shot on March 30th, 1993, which resulted in his death the next day at the age of 28. When news of his death broke out, the film went on to become a favorite amongst horror fans everywhere. Jim Carrey could have died on the final day of filming, and upon the film's release, it may have had a similar effect on people. But then we never would have had Mr. Popper's Penguins.
No. No.
Despite Yes Man's commercial success, it got mixed reviews from critics and audience members alike. Many people compared it to Liar Liar, which I do have to admit is in the same lane. One is about a lawyer that can't lie, and the other is about a loan officer that can't say no. But just because a movie is formulaic doesn't mean it still can't be original and great in its execution. I think audiences walked into Yes Man hoping to see tons of physical slapstick comedy like Ace Ventura or The Mask. But what they got was a more well-rounded Vince Vaughn, Ben Stiller type of romantic comedy that had comedy, heart, romance, a compelling plot, and great performances. This movie had the best of both Jim Carreys. We get to see his serious side where he really connects with people, but then we also get to see him go full Dumb and Dumber in several scenes. That's part of why I think it's his best film. My only critique of the film is that Jim seemed a little old compared to the cast of characters. In 2007, Carrey was 45. Meanwhile, Bradley Cooper, who played his best friend, was 32. Molly Sims, who played his ex-wife, was 34, and Zooey Deschanel was 27. I think to replace at least Cooper's character with an older actor would have been a smarter casting choice. But at the same time, I'm glad Cooper got this role because if he didn't get it, then he might not have gotten Hangover a year later, or Limitless, or Silver Linings Playbook down the road. The age difference doesn't bother me that much. Another critique that's not really related to the movie, but more so to the poster and marketing, is that I thought the movie poster was rather generic and cookie cutter. If you're from another country and you don't speak English and you don't know who Jim Carrey is, and you see a subtitled DVD cover of a middle-aged man prancing through a field, it's not going to make you look twice at it. A better idea for the cover that would have piqued curiosity and interest is the two of them on the moped, or him at the gas station, or the scene at the seminar where everyone's naked from the back. Regardless of what I thought of how it was marketed, it still made great money in theaters, so what do I know? One actor I would love to highlight is Rhys Darby, the New Zealand actor who played Norm, Carl's boss, or as he calls him, Ka. He absolutely lit up the screen in every scene he was in. To me, he's kind of like a nicer version of Michael Scott, without as much awkwardness. I haven't seen him in very many things because he's done a lot of TV work, but I think he's just wonderful in this movie. I also really love the soundtrack. Zooey Deschanel sang a few great original songs, including an awesome end credits song. There were also multiple times in the movie where I felt the song fit the moment really well and elicited the desired emotion, which is exactly what I want in a soundtrack or score. The scene in particular where Jim Carrey sings Jumper by Third Eye Blind to a man who's thinking about killing himself is a very powerful scene. When this film came out, I was 10 years old, and seeing the world change as this movie has stayed the same has been so much fun to watch. The scenes of Carl in Blockbuster are really cool to see, along with the old slider phones that I had in high school. It was back before Bradley Cooper was a leading man and director, and he had to play the best friend. Zooey Deschanel was also on her way up, with 500 Days of Summer coming out the next year and New Girl being her peak. It was after Danny Masterson raped 2 women, but before he got caught and was thrown in prison for 30 years. I personally feel that if technology stopped advancing in 2008, society would be better for it. It was before smartphones were popular and everyone got addicted. Social media also hadn't gone out of control, with only Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace being around. YouTube's algorithm hadn't yet driven so many people into political extremism and into believing the Earth was flat. In 2008, Amazon was a website people could buy books on. They weren't trying to take over the world. Back then, AI was a movie with Haley Joel Osment. If people needed something, they went to a local store to buy it most of the time. And if you wanted to talk to your friends or family, you generally did it face-to-face and used your phone only on when you planned where to meet. It was a friendlier time, I believe. I think this movie showcased that in a small way. In my opinion, this movie is life-changing. In the beginning of the movie, we see Carl Allen working at the bank, going to get coffee, and lying on his couch watching movies. It is ever apparent to the audience that Carl is in a rut. He's deeply depressed and no longer wants to participate in life. He's a no man. He says no to everything because he's worried about getting hurt again. There's a dream sequence in the movie where Carl has a nightmare that his friends discovered him after he died. Although Jim Carrey's face made it a little comedic, it was a very dark scene. Upon discovering that Carl was dead, his friends were more concerned on if there were any more beers left in his fridge, and Bradley Cooper said,
"Wasn't a good friend. Wasn't a good anything."
That's when Carl woke up and decided to go to the Yes seminar because he had ran out of options. I think what Carl was dealing with is kind of what Weezer said in the song All My Favorite Songs, when they said, "I love parties, but I don't go, and I feel bad when I stay home." Carl's depression is causing him to isolate because he doesn't want people to know that he's hurt. He's having trouble moving on because a part of him still thinks his wife will come back. He doesn't want to close the book on that chapter of his life when he was married and in love. He also has tons of feelings of inadequacy. Because he isolates himself, he feels bad that he's pushing away the only people in his life that still love him, his friends. While at the same time, he's also not going out and meeting new people. He's pushing away Norm, his boss, who just wants to love, be loved, and be everyone's friend. I can empathize very much with Carl in the first part of this film. A part of the reason why I got so deeply invested in film is because I did what Carl did in the movie. Whenever I got really depressed, I isolated and coped by vegging out on the couch and watching movies. Movies were an escape for me in my life. I could have made myself feel better by just forcing myself to call a friend and go somewhere and do something new and exciting. Instead, many of us in life would rather ruminate on negative thoughts in an effort to avoid future pain, just like Carl. Carl Allen, however, is in such an extreme negative cycle of thinking that he decides to go in the extreme in the opposite direction, where he forces himself to say yes to everything so much that in some ways it's problematic. One example of this is when Allison finds out that he's only saying yes to everything because he's participating in a self-help program. She feels her whole relationship is a lie. Then Carl's big realization is that saying yes to everything opens him up and makes him not feel inadequate. Now he knows in his heart the things that he truly does want to say yes to, the things worth saying yes to. Things like romance, friendship, camaraderie, kindness to strangers, risks worth taking, adventure, love, and most of all, life itself is worth saying yes to. Because, as Carl says, maybe all that bad stuff will lead to something good. This movie is the feel-good movie of the century, and it's lifted me out of the dumps when I needed it the most. This movie deserves to be celebrated. It should be shown in schools on National Suicide Prevention Month, with the exception of one scene.
Oh, God!
Let me know in the comments how you've been affected by this film, and I'll see you guys again soon. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.